Hi there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, and today's video goes out to somebody named Guna, who made a comment on one of my YouTube videos saying, I feel almost brainwashed about this sales and marketing stuff, that they were taught that if they didn't persist, push, pressure people to buy, they were hurting those people, letting them down, not serving them. And that if they didn't do that, it was their healer archetype. It was their own lack of self-worth that was getting in the way. It was, I've heard it said that you didn't sell yourself on what you were doing, and the customer won and you lost, and so ultimately the customer lost, and all of this. So first of all, Guna, I feel you. That's what I learned too. That's 100% how I learned it, and it's wrong. I could make the case that's wrong morally and ethically, but it's more wrong in that it's a bad map. This doesn't work. It's not that effective, that approach. I just saw this recently in a video. A colleague I was following, somebody new, I don't know them, never talked to them, but I'd seen their stuff, I liked it. And then they went into this. It's like, if you don't convince them, you're hurting them. And Guna wrote something about it's like, well, they need what I'm buying, but they're not buying. So let's just unpack this all. They don't need what you're buying. This is so important. Now, first of all, do you need clients? Yes. If you're going to have a business, you do need paying clients. Do you need this specific person you're talking to in front of you? No, you don't need them to meet that need. You just need somebody and some bodies to meet that need. So that's one. Do they need what you have to offer? No, they don't. Are there people out there who probably need what you have to offer? And in fact, not just generically what you offer, but the specific thing that you have? That's probably true. My belief is you wouldn't have that kind of medicine to offer the world if there wasn't a reason for it to be here, if there wasn't a place to put it. And there's probably plenty of places to put it. But is it necessarily in the life of that person? Who knows? And so that's what marketing and sales is a mutual discerning. You sit down together and you say, is this a fit or not? And you have the honest, sometimes hard conversations to see if it's a fit. But your goal is not to get them to buy. Your goal is just to get to the truth of is this the right thing for both of us right now? Trying to find out, can you help them? Because that whole framing, I'd say this is one of the places you're trapped. This is one of the iterations of the brainwashing. Is these trainers will say, yeah, these people need what you have. Now that sounds very affirming. It sounds very uplifting, but it's actually so condemning in a way, because it puts you in a deep trance of, but if this person I'm talking to needs what I have, and I'm not able to convince them, then of course I've hurt them. Yeah, that's the logic. So that's the trap of it. You're condemned to always trying to persuade people. I mean, imagine that. If you knew somebody was dying and you knew they were dehydrated, they didn't know they were dehydrated, but you knew they needed water. But the only way that you could get them to water is to convince them to drink, because you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And you got to persuade, and then the person dies because you couldn't get the water into them. Well, of course you'd feel terrible in that situation. You'd live with that for the rest of your life. I just wasn't persuasive enough. I screwed it up. But we don't know that what we have is water for this person. We don't know that they need it. And as long as you come from the place that basically everybody you talk to needs what you have to offer, you are condemned to, it's like a weird Twilight Zone show or something, where you're condemned to this task that's impossible, of convincing people for whom it's not a fit that it's a fit, and you just have to wander the earth forever until your shoes fall off, barefoot, calluses. 2,000 years later, they say he's still walking the earth. So it's a much more human approach to walk in saying, I don't know if they need this. I don't know if it's a fit. Because now it's not a pitch. Now it's just a human conversation. And now there's no sense. There's no, oh, but I'm hurting them. How would you know if you're hurting them? Because couldn't the inverse be true? If you persuade something to sign up for something that isn't a fit for them, couldn't that be you hurting them? You're wasting their time. You're wasting their money. You're getting up their hopes and dashing them because it doesn't help because it wasn't a fit, isn't that? Couldn't we say that that's harmful? But you can't even go there if you've already been convinced and put under the spell of everybody needs what you have to offer. So that's the trap that I heard in what you were writing to me, Guna. The trap is, and then of course it gets framed as your self-esteem. I've done a video, I've done a few pieces on this, but you don't have limiting beliefs around this. You have a conscience. That's what's happening for you right now. You have a conscience that's rearing up its beautiful head. But they want to frame the your conscience as a limiting belief, as your healer archetype, as your giving up on people, your lack of persistence, your low self-worth. That's how they want to frame it. I think that our conscience, one understanding could be this is spirit talking to us. This is your soul speaking. This is the most deeply worthy part of you speaking. This isn't a sign of your lack of worthiness. It's evidence of something deeply worthy inside of you, deeply worth listening to on these matters. And it's really hard to hear that with the brainwashing, because the brainwashing frames all the messages from your soul, from your ancestors, from the other side, that would tell you to slow your roll a little bit as just your limiting beliefs. And therefore, if it's a limit, given our relationship to limits in this culture, well, what's a limit there for? What, to just launch right? I mean, there's a motorcycle behind me. It's like Evel Knievel, Well, why are all those cars there? Well, they're there to jump over in a death-defying act. That's the purpose of limits. They're there to be transcended. They're there to be defeated, to be thwarted, instead of to be obeyed and to be listened to. And so when we have that off feeling, that like, oh, this isn't quite right, something here is, I'm not sure, that's a limit that I think our soul is putting on us. And it's good to listen to it. That doesn't mean you don't work with the person, but it does mean you might lift up. You say, I'm just feeling unsure. I don't know. Can we talk about this more? I think what I'm concerned about is this. And you just see, is it a fit? Isn't it? And maybe it is. Wouldn't that be something? But we don't walk in already convinced that this particular person across from us needs what we have to offer. If we let that go, it's so liberating. It's so freeing. Because now we actually just get to be present. And then we get to think a much bigger thought, which is, well, this isn't for everybody, so who might it be for? And then there's the niching work. There's all that beautiful niching work that you can do. Writing up an ideal client page and crafting good headlines, so that the people who are then sitting across from you are much more likely to be a fit. And while we still don't assume it, we know that every bit of work we do in clarifying our niche and articulating that and sharing that makes it more likely that the people we speak with who are going to be attracted by that will be a fit. And if you get good enough, your batting average is pretty high, and suddenly it's like, oh, pretty much every person I talk to is a fit. Isn't that a miracle? You're suddenly at that place that they said you were years ago, but they were gaslighting you. It's gaslighting to say everybody is a fit for you. Because absent the niching work, they're not. With the niching work, you might actually get to a point where by the time you're talking to them one-on-one, they've gone through enough of the filters that you can pretty much assume they're a fit. And now you just talk about the particulars with them and see if that particular offer is a fit for them in that particular moment. But you're not going to get there. You will never get there to that authentic moment where genuinely everyone you talk to is probably a fit. If you start from the misguided belief, you want to talk about a limiting belief. Here's the limiting belief. What I have is for everybody. That limits you so profoundly, as most of you who've gone through this, and Guna, it sounds like as you have experienced. It's very limiting in terms of your income. It's just not true. But then all the sales trying to say, no, it's true. Everybody needs this. And so, oh shit, there you are. Totally gaslit, not sure what to believe. Thinking, well, it must be me. And then you got to go get therapy. Or, isn't it convenient? That very same coach who said it was about your self-worth has a program about how to increase your self-worth. And it's only $10,000. Well, that's great. What a bargain. If that's the real answer to increase my belief. And then you can go and drink more Kool-Aid and get more brainwashed and push your conscience down even further until you're just a complete automaton, willing to say and go through all those scripts with no real genuine human connection to the people you're speaking with, and just dominate people until they buy. Congratulations. No, that shit, that brainwashing it's limiting. But the thing it limits is your humanity. So if you're actually interested in making some sales with, working more with your ideal clients, then, try working on your niche. Try working on your point of view, the fundamentals. Try that. Okay, I could keep talking, but I'll leave it there. And hope you're doing well. Marketingforhippies.com is my website. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to me here on YouTube. If you're not sure how, you hit the red subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified when more videos come out. Thanks, everybody.